if you're moving from a project environment to a more agile environment, perhaps having been a project manager to a scrum master, there's going to be some differences, naturally, because there are different jobs, there are different accountabilities in what we're trying to do. And they're also fundamentally different in how we approach the work and the people around us as a result of the intent behind them. And having worked as a project manager and having people around me and helping people who have been or are project managers move to a more agile way of working or transitioning from project manager to a different accountability like scrum master or product owner, what is the great thing about being a project manager? Well, I had to think back. It was a moment ago now. But I remember one of my favorite feelings was, and it sounds, sounds a bit bad perhaps, and maybe a bit shameless to say, but it felt great feeling important. You feel like the spider in the web. You've got your hands on the web and you know what's happening. You're feeling stuff and you're going and fixing problems as you see them, connecting people, solving issues, managing risks and issues. And it's really cool. It feels great being so involved. And the other nice thing about it is you have this sense of certainty. You've got these deadlines, you've got this scope. It's very clear what you're supposed to be doing and working towards, and it's just about managing people and issues each day to just execute on those things to that timeline within the budget, right? The hurtful thing or the thing that was painful with it was, of course, one, when those things didn't work and you didn't get the deadline and you had to get an extension, or you got scope creep, which no one likes, or you had to ask for more budget. Or what really hurt for me was delivering these projects and still not having stakeholders and people around me that were happy, or working with people, and because I was in a project management environment and it was my job to get them to do the thing they're supposed to do by the time, it's kind of asking them to do things that might have made them uncomfortable, working overtime, putting extra work, putting my stuff over someone else's in priorities, escalating above their head so that their managers hit them on the head so they do the thing I asked for. That was always uncomfortable. I argue that every project manager, unless they're a bit funkier than I am, are uncomfortable with it. It's not something they enjoy doing. And it still stems from this idea that the work is understood and understandable, and as long as everyone does everything the right way, when they should, as they should, will deliver the right stuff, which is a comforting feeling, right? That goes back to what's great about it. You have the sense of certainty, of importance. And that's the hardest element to shift, because if you're used to being in the center and being involved and solving problems all the time, which goes back to the video I did earlier about, what's something I wish before? Well, don't solve all the problems when you're a Scrum Master. When you're a project manager, it's your job to identify the problems and get them solved, often yourself, one way or another, or get other people to solve them for you. And that's a tricky thing to shift from, that certainty, that ability to just tell people to get this thing done, and that feeling of importance of being the spider in the middle of the web, knowing what's happening everywhere, to a Scrum Master stance where actually you're enabling others. You're no longer the spider in the web. Now you are the coach on the sidelines. You're not playing the game anymore. You're enabling the players to play better. You're observing behaviors and patterns and giving recommendations and ideas for what they might be able to do to improve themselves. But it's up to them to put in the work to improve it. You can only identify the issues, but they have to solve them themselves. Sometimes you can be part of it, right? And embracing and understanding the idea of complexity and complex work, i.e. the kinds of problems you think is going to take 10 minutes and 2 weeks later you still haven't figured it out. The kinds of problems where you're only done when you're done. Almost done doesn't exist, which is very uncomfortable. That certainty you had of deadlines, of if we put in this amount of time, we will get this much out of it, now just becomes a matter of, if we pay this much money, we can try and figure something out, but we don't know if we will. And is moving from solution management essentially to risk management, which we think we do as project managers, but we're actually talking about trying to get solutions in a certain amount of time. And that's very uncomfortable. It's very vulnerable. Now, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is good news. One, it's doable. You can make the transition. I have, many others have, dare I say, hundreds of thousands of people and Scrum Masters have made the transition. And there are people actively doing it right now. And the good news is that once you learn about complexity, you learn about not trying to problem solve all the time and kind of not getting your idea of self-worth or gratification from the idea that you're the superhero solving all the problems and you need to keep an eye on everything and everything is knowable up front, you kind of start swimming in the complexity soup, which is a weird way of putting it, but you get comfortable being in the weird mire of dealing with risk. And you realize that there are some things we can keep an eye on. We can keep an eye on value. We can keep an eye on quality. We can do things in time boxes, mini deadlines of sorts, called sprints or iterations. And guess what? We can deliver stuff against our scope called increments, little bits of functionality that we can validate if they're actually solving the problem or not. And once you figure those things out and you start doing those things, and you start realizing how people are responding and reacting to you as you switch to this stance, where now you're working as peers, as equals, as people you respect and enjoy collaborating with. And people are no longer lying through their teeth to you and saying that everything's good when they know it isn't, which any project manager has experienced and know when it's happening. And you have frank conversations about the actual state of things. That's a wonderful feeling. Suddenly, Monday is not a bad word. It's a great word because you get to go back to that team and that amazing solution you're building together with these people. And when you get to that state as a Scrum Master, it's a wonderful feeling. And you'd probably run away if someone suggested for you to move back to being a project manager again. All right. Thank you very much for watching. And if you like what you saw and you want to hear more about what I've got to say in the future on similar questions, or if you have a question yourself, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. You can also email me at oscar.stfy@pragmaticshift.com. Please do like the video, share it with others if you think they might benefit from it, or follow my profile to see stuff as they come out as well. And I would love to be your Scrum trainer. So please find my content on pragmaticshift.com. You can find the courses I've scheduled for the year or on scrum.org.com as well. Look forward to seeing you in my classroom soon.